A lot of things already yesterday, and I still have some of my beets left because the beets were just so good. And that's basically what I ate yesterday was the stir-fried beets and broccoli, and the cooked, sautéed, or roasted, as it were, um, carrots and beets. Mm. Mm. I'm still enjoying my pomegranate smoothie. So I always say that I'm mostly plant-based, but I don't reject food. If I have like food that's in my house, I'm still going to eat it because, if I have some food, I'm not going to waste it. And I want to talk about sustainability. And I know people think like, oh, if you're on social media, you need to accept any kind of comment. You just need to let people say whatever they want, and they can say whatever they want to you. But here's the thing. That's not true. You do not need to accept every kind of comment. And I think a lot of people that think they're sustainable, they're not really, because hi, how you doing? We have kind of this dictatorial mindset about what is sustainable. So I know the drill because I went to public school in the 80s and 90s when they would always talk about sustainability and like recycling. But here's a big caveat to all of that. We all live in a modern society, so unless you're like living completely off the grid, you really can't say what is sustainable, okay? You can't really tell somebody what is sustainable for them. So what? If somebody likes to use some plastic flowers in crafting, I've always had plastic flowers on this channel, and then I have somebody come along and they're like, well, plastic flowers should be banned. I don't agree with that. If you want to live in a country where your biggest problem is banning plastic flowers, you're kind of a douche. You're kind of a douche. You know why? Because there's a lot of plastic products in the world, and plastic flowers are not hurting anyone. And the argument from somebody was, well, it would be more sustainable if we banned the plastic flowers because it costs resources to make the plastic flowers, and the real ones are a better equivalent. Look, I love real flowers too, but one reason I like plastic flowers is because they're actually quite sustainable in my decor. Because if I were to always buy like real flowers, that would be a lot of work and a lot of resources. And sometimes I do have real flowers in my backyard. And also too, let's say you have a problem like where you live in a unit that might attract like flies or ants. Maybe you don't want inside plants. I can say right now, I have one plant I'm trying to revive that somebody gave me, but I think it's past its prime. But sometimes inside plants, when you live in a certain kind of unit where you already have like things that can attract bugs, are not a good idea. So you can have a few plants outside, but I think there's just something very odd about somebody who wants a politician to ban things. Let me say why. If you want to live in some sort of tyrannical, dictatorial society where they're always passing laws about what people can buy and use and consume, some environmental protections are good, but you are on the wrong, you're dying on the wrong hill if like you're against plastic flowers. And then this guy, he said something so misogynistic, actually kind of sexist to me, like, well, you can buy plastic flowers if you want to. I'm like, yeah, of course I can. And I had let this person, they were always making these like kind of quasi sexual comments towards me. I tried to be respectful, just kind of very rude comments to me, and I had let it go for the longest time. And just rude, very rude. No, it's not funny. We're talking about what sexism is and what misogyny is, and that's misogyny, and we don't put up with it here, so it's not funny. It's petty. And I'm not even mad. That's great. So do I. But I don't want to live in a dictatorial society where a politician tells me how to live. Because if you have ever read history, they pass, if you want to live in a society like that, more power to you. But I think that's ridiculous. And if that's the one thing that you're worried about, what kind of problems? We have real problems in the world, like a war in Ukraine, a war in Syria. And the thing that you're worried about is that I was having fun like crafting with pretty plastic flowers. That's your problem. Get a life. I don't know. I'm just like, it's sad. It's sad for them. But, us women, we're supposed to be quiet little flowers and never, like, have an opinion about anything. That's what they want. They want, it's this machismo thing. It's these men who think we're just going to be like, yeah, you can say whatever you want to us. And we're just, no. I don't really care what you think. And it's not even really a sexist thing. It's just a rude thing is what it is. You know how to express yourself perfectly well in English. Your comment was pretty... Anyway, I'm just standing up for myself and this channel. And if you don't like what I do, like, I guess I could just not address you. But if you don't like something I do, you don't have to watch it. I am so... But this is probably... Not really. It's sad. You want to live in a society where a politician makes choices for you. I don't know. I used to be like that too when I was younger. I used to think like, oh yes, like the Democrats are going to save the world. Like I need like a politician to make better choices for me. But then I started realizing, you know what? It's good to have a limited form of government. Yeah, we need some environmental protections. We don't want like a whole bunch of oil dumped in the ocean. But unless you live like completely off the grid, it doesn't make any sense. Like so. To be upset about plastic flowers to that degree. I don't know. I guess some people would just be like, they'd let you go, but I get tired of it because I'm like, yeah, you already wrote some really weird comments the other day. But maybe that's just because you think that the government should tell everybody how to live and you don't want to have any autonomy of your own to make your own personal decisions. You're a clown. Yeah, go to dinner. We don't care. Like, that's the kind of vibe. Like, I probably shouldn't have even talked to that one because I'm just like, yeah, that's what we get. But, I'm done with it because I'm just like, I'm not even mad. I'm just making a point. It's childish. I'm not mad. I think it's childish. Like, but he's probably a 20-something-year-old kid, like, living with his parents or something. So, yeah, he needs to go to dinner because his mommy's making him dinner. And he doesn't have a job, so his mommy does everything for him. I don't know. That's probably the vibe I'm getting. So, I like real plants, too. Your point makes no point. Like, a lot of people like real plants. Like, you just made an assumption that I didn't like real plants. But anyway, I should just be, like... just forgetting about it because it's dumb. It's really dumb. Like, really. Okay, I hope your mom makes you a really good little din-din. Make a pumpkin cake in the air fryer thing. I usually do like mostly plant-based, but I didn't want to waste this mix. This was a mix my mom had given me, like, because I saw her a few weeks ago. See, if somebody, like, stands up for themselves, that's not about being mad at all. But people will always say things like that to you, like, if they said something rude, like, or we're off base. Like, I guess I'm supposed to just be like, oh, yeah, you can write whatever you want. Okay, a lot of people really hate plastic flowers, but if that's your biggest complaint, like, about environmentalism is, like, some plastic flowers. I'm going to use some apple butter my mom made me. Then leave. I don't know why you're here. So, like, I'm going to use some apple butter that my mom made me as an egg replacement, along with almond milk. I might use a little bit of oil, but there's some oil in. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna try some of this. This is Trader Joe almond butter. I just want to see what it tastes like. Mm-hmm. It's really good. I just want to get a taste of it. Just get an idea about how much maybe I should add. I'm gonna add that much. And then I'm going to use some water. It says that you need about 1 cup of water. I'm just going to start, because I added a lot of liquid already. I think that's about the equivalent of 1 cup of water, really. Start with 3/4, though, just to make sure that it doesn't look too wet. I guess this one is, I said it was pumpkin, but it's actually banana. I don't know why I thought it was a pumpkin. It's like, you smell like a banana. It's actually pumpkin. Banana. Okay. I'll fix this might add a little bit more water too. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So I'm just like, I don't even know why I said anything now. I'm just like, really? You know what? Because it's just somebody's opinion, right? They don't like something. They don't have to like it. I just think, okay, to me, this is the absurdity. Do you really want to live in a country where politicians ban everything? Does that make your life better? And by the way, this is where you should put on your thinking cap. Because guess what happened? Like in the Soviet Union, oh, they banned owning property. But did that keep the Soviet elites from driving nice cars or appropriating nice houses or taking like the means of production for themselves? Why do you think Che Guevara was so mad, and why do you think he was exiled? Because he was actually like a purist communist, and I'm not even a communist. But the one thing you could say about Che Guevara is he actually believed in the communist way. He was kind of like Bronson Alcott. Like, he was pure. He was so purist. Like, he believed people should work and hard and share everything. And the thing that Che Guevara was upset about is that people didn't work hard enough. Okay? And he told the Soviets in the 1960s that they should give more money to Cuba, and that if they were true communist brothers, why don't they share like the spoils of wealth with other smaller communist countries? And you know what? Fidel Castro was embarrassed because Fidel Castro just wanted to be in power, and he wanted to look good, because Fidel Castro, he wasn't even a true communist in the beginning. He was willing to be a Democrat, a democratic leader, but because he got Soviet backing, ooh, flip-flopper. So, but Che was actually purist. Not that I'm a communist, I'm not a communist, but he was actually a purist in what he believed, and he got exiled for that. So all these people that are always like being lapdogs thinking, oh, I want more laws passed, like to ban like plastic usage or to ban this and that. Like, do you think that the politicians are going to abide by all those laws? Like, when they pass a law saying, oh, like you have to pay 10 cents for like a plastic bag, like, well, here's another example, like Gavin Newsom, our own governor. Oh, like people were supposed to like stay home and not go out because of COVID. But what was Gavin Newsom doing? Not wearing a mask, eating dinner with owners of theme parks, doing all the things that he told people. This was before the vaccine, by the way. So do you think that, oh gosh, I have flour all over me. This is funny. Do you think that politicians are like purists? Like, do you think that they are going to live like, so I know you can say like, I'm not even mad, I feel really sorry for young, there's older people too, and this is a big trending thing, and I don't even like to make my channel political, but there's a lot of people, they go on TikTok and they're always talking about how capitalism has failed us and capitalism is so bad. Well, it's not really capitalism, it's crony capitalism. Like I was saying yesterday, when you let a corporation like be too big to fail and you bail them out and then there's no competition, the free market economy is fine. But do we really want politicians and the government getting involved in the economy? I think the degree that people want a politician to take care of them is just like they want a jefe. They kind of like, the Spanish word for a boss. It's like they want a little jefe to control every aspect of their life, and they don't want to have any responsibility for making good choices on their own. Like, look, I'm not saying that plastic is like beautiful, but plastic is in so many products we use. And actually, there are some benefits to using plastic, because I used to kind of be like, maybe 10, 12 years ago, I used to be the type that was like, oh, I don't think we should use plastic anymore. And because I was always told how bad plastics are. And I know you always see PR campaigns saying plastic is so bad, it's just so horrible. And look, yeah, glass is kind of better in some ways if you're eating out of it. I honestly tried to switch over to using more glass when I'm baking, but some things have plastic, like an air fryer, like even the water filter. Like, plastic is not like the devil incarnate, because plastics have helped to improve. Oh, I froze again. Okay. To some degree. Yeah, exactly. Pray water, drink wine. Good point, Casey. My thought is, okay, plastics have actually made our lives better in some ways. And yes, you might not like waste. I think you can say, personally, I feel like plastic flowers might be a waste of money, but then I feel like people want to ban things, or they think something's just outright bad because they don't like it, and they saw a documentary that said, oh, it's not good. So I watched, actually, it was funny because it was an environmental channel that recommended this video to me. It was about this lady who thought plastic straws were really bad and that getting a reusable straw was better. But I just remember at the time thinking, this was my thought about the whole reusable straw thing. I have a few reusable straws that I ended up throwing away because you could never completely clean them. And my sister would always be like, well, you can clean them with the brush and it'll clean them perfectly. But I would look inside the plastic straw and it never looked perfectly clean to me. Demonstrating for nature and afterwards taking a flight to Bali. That's a good point. That is a good point. Exactly. So, yeah, and here's another good point. Like, so my sister, like, she bought a lot of reusable straws and she would clean them, but she actually reused them. But I was watching this video this morning where this woman said she was given reusable straws and they weren't actually, like, it turned out they weren't as environmentally sound as people thought, because she interviewed this environmentalist from South Africa who said, if you look at how often, like how much during the course of a life somebody uses a plastic straw versus like a reusable straw, and you pretty much would have to use it all the time and take it with you everywhere. So its practicality started to diminish. And then the environmental impact of making certain reusable straws is actually higher than if you were to make like a plastic straw. And I don't even like straws that much anyway, so I don't know, like sometimes I use a straw, but a lot of times I don't even like a straw. And I think sometimes it's just easier, don't ask for a straw, like why don't, and then it still comes in a plastic cup. So where do we stop? Like, I guess you just would stay home all the time and you would make everything from scratch, but then you eventually would have to drive to the store to buy produce or groceries, which might have some type of plastic. I just feel like, yes, we could create less plastic waste, but not all of the reusable products are what they think they are. So I've just come to the conclusion, yeah, it's probably better not to consume more than we use. And that's what Khalil Gibran said over 100 years ago. He said to take less than you give. To me, like, because my mom was always into composting and organic gardening, so I think plants are beautiful, but I don't live somewhere that has a backyard, okay? So I'm practical, you know? Like, I always think about practicality. I'm not gonna be like, oh my gosh, like I need to that I must do this and this to be a good person, because it also, I don't really love the term virtue signaling. I feel like that's kind of cliche, but it does get to the point that like it's this virtuosity contest. Like, I use plastic, like a reusable straw, and you don't, even though I might not. Okay, and I also think about this too. People forget reusable containers all the time. So people would have these really fancy, and they keep changing like which one that you should have. Like at first it was I'm not even sure what the name was of that one really popular reusable cup, but oh, Hydro Flask. Yes, Hydro Flask. Very expensive. Like I bought one, like a knockoff one at Walmart. Do I have it somewhere? Oh yeah, I have the knockoff. I have like a very cheapo one, the Contigo one. Like I have, and this one was like $13, but back in the day of the hype of the Hydro Flask, they were like 50 something dollars. And you would find like tons of these. Like people would leave these behind like they were going out of style, and I was always like, how come people didn't come back for them? Like at the time I knew that those drinkers were like 50 or $60, and I'm like, wouldn't they be coming back and looking for it? Like occasionally some people would come back and get them, but a lot of people would just forget them and never come back to get them. And I just thought, well, and how many times did they have to replace that drinking container? And they bought a real expensive one, and now it's the Stanley Cup, and there's always like this new minimalist high-end reusable thing that they want you to buy. So I just think you need to be more cautious about what you're purchasing, man. Like, yeah, we should all be careful and conscious of what we're consuming, but I don't think the answer is, oh my gosh, like we could never buy anything again, and we should always like buy something reusable, because some of it's PR marketing. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. Like, there's always going to be a company that's greenwashing. Do you know what greenwashing is? Reusable cup, reusable straw, just like the video said. So if you're like my sister and you think reusable straws are really good and you can clean them properly, I personally hate reusable straws because I just always felt like there was still particles of food stuck in them or a drink, and I just don't think that they're practical. So I would rather just not use a straw that much. Like, if straws are that big of a problem, Just go without using the straw. To me, that's the solution, you know? Like, you don't need to use the straw all the time. And they also said in the documentary, like the little video that I saw, the South African environmentalists mentioned that if you live in a country with adequate like waste disposal, yes, it's not good that the straw ends up in the landfill, but most likely it won't end up in the ocean. So a lot of these feelings are driven by somebody seeing a video online where they see like waste in Indonesia. Yes, the greenwashing thing. And it really, like, why and to what end? When are we going to stop greenwashing? Like, seriously. I buy some things, like, it's not that I never go shopping, but I'm very, like, cautious about what I buy. Like, I don't buy things that I don't need anymore. Like, even though I love clothes, like, I just buy clothes that I like, that I really, really love, that I know will last me forever. I have a dress that's been in my closet for 20 years, and it was considered a fast fashion brand. But why did this dress last me for 20 years? I don't know. I'm just saying. Like, I don't know. I just always think about these things. Like, I've had things that, not the same closet, I've moved since then. But, you know, that's just an example. Like, fast fashion, environmental reusage. Like, I'm not anti-environmental. I'm not, because I grew up with all these concepts and being told that this was really important. But I also just came, like, I used to be, like, I guess the thing is, I kind of used to be, like, the person that was like, oh my gosh, like, this must be true because I was told this. But then I kind of started looking more into it. And even environmentalist people are saying now, well, it turns out sometimes the reusable straw isn't as good as you think it is. So I'm not against environmentalism. I think environmentalism is good. Like, we should care about the environment. But I think it comes down to, let's be practical about it. If you're going to buy something that you're going to throw out, that's the problem. Like, it starts with you. You can't control what everybody else is doing, right? You really can't. And another thing that just bothers, like, me is, like, people are always saying, like, oh, well, like, the clothing that they buy, it's going to be, like, worn out in 6 months. And I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing to your clothes that they're worn out in 6 months? My clothes, like, last a long time. How are you washing them? Are you, like, rolling through the mud and then, like, having, like, all these machines? I don't really understand, like, so yes, like, if you're going on Shein, and you're buying, like, 5,000 green tops, okay, and you're doing, like, a little haul where you put on 5,000 green tops and then you throw them all in the environment, that might be a problem. But if you're just being, like, a normal person who's not going on Shein, I don't think I'd buy anything from that site. It sounds kind of sketch anyway. I'm being a little bit more cautious about what I buy on Amazon too, because I used to love those retro dresses, and I think they're really beautiful. And I think there's a couple of companies that still really make them very nicely. But Grace Karen, I don't know what happened to them. Like, they got really cheap recently, and I did buy one that it's gonna work. I'm gonna make it work, but I can't wear it with certain types of sweaters or it will pill. It's very weird. I don't know. They downgraded the fabric that they used on their dresses, which is a shame because I thought out of all the retro style dresses, like inspired dresses, they actually had the nicest material, but they decided to change something. I don't know when, but it's just a cheaper grade of material that they use now, and the material was pilling, and, like, other materials would pill onto it. And I was gonna return the dress, honestly, because actually they sent it to me used, which was kind of weird. Like, it had been returned, I could tell. And I was gonna return it, but I just am not good at returning it. That's another thing. I don't, like, if I buy something, I just keep using it. I don't return things. Like, I think that a lot of this stuff's a problem for the people who, I don't know, I can't speak for other people, but the people who return a lot of stuff and, like, throw things away. I think that's where a lot of this becomes problematic. I guess for me it's not, because I still have clothes from several years ago that I'm going to continue wearing. And I still have a dress that's 20 years old. It'll be 21 this spring. Yeah, anyway. You know? I'm just saying, I just don't get it. I'm just like, Yeah, so if you, I guess if you waste a lot of money on things, like maybe that's where this all gets to be a problem. And I, I just think I don't understand like people wanting like a politician. I like stopped what I was doing. Like I was supposed to be focusing on making the tape. So anyway, I just think like people want a politician like to like they think a politician is gonna save them, or just like with the presidency. Even like some people think the president like is gonna save the economy or the president. And politicians really shouldn't have that much control over economy or always restricting something, because I'm telling you, when you go down that rabbit hole, they'll make a restriction for you, but are they going to make a restriction for them? Do not be so naive. But the road to fascism was painted with good intentions. And a lot of people forgot that. Or paved, not painted. The road to fascism was paved with good intentions. And that's the truth. That's the truth every day. And you're always going to have people who think, like, I need the government to save me. Like, a politician needs to make a good choice for me because I want to be my brother's keeper. But are you your brother's keeper? Maybe to some degree, but you can't control everything people do. I just think this is a concept people forgot about. And when if people started thinking a little bit more logically, they would know that you cannot rely on the government to, like, be our savior of everything. I'm just going to kind of plop this in. And then I'll kind of smooth it out. Okay. I'm going to have a lot of kitchen cleaning to do because I got kind of passionate about that. But you know, at the end of the day, if you are happy, like if you want to live, like if your country, like if the population of your country agrees that passing laws against certain plastic things will make life better, that's fine. I think you are thinking about the wrong things though, like with what's going on in Syria and Ukraine and everything right now. I think that there's bigger issues in the world than like a plastic flower. But I don't know, I like plastic flowers because I like to craft. And to me, like, they're going to last me a long time. And okay, you can say plastic's bad, but I think we just need to think about like how you personally should just buy things that you use, not worry about things other people use. And that doesn't mean I don't like plants. It just means like I'm cognizant of I live in an environment that I don't really have a large backyard. So a lot of plants just aren't practical for me. And the few plants I would have in the house would attract like weird bugs. So honestly, I'm just trying to be careful myself. But if you are okay with having flies in your house and that doesn't bother you, I think flies are great, but I'd prefer they be outside with plants, not inside. So sometimes for me, just having a pretend flower is fun. And they've lasted me a long time. It's not like I threw them out. It's not like I bought a new one every other week or something. So, this froze for a second. Yeah, I just feel like I'm not trying to. So I'm not angry. I'm not angry. I'm just like sometimes. But this is the internet, and we're taught that we're supposed to just be okay. Like everybody has an opinion, and they can say anything that they want on your page. But the problem lies in where it's the bigger picture. It's the bigger picture that people think. And I used to be, I guess the reason I see it is I used to be that person. I used to be the person that just thought, like, oh, Democrats are the best and that they're going to pass lots of green legislation that's going to make the world better. And, like, we should have laws against this and that, and that the world will be so much better when that happens. But it doesn't really make any sense because all they do is they pass legislation saying that the general public can't do something. But like I was telling you with the example with Gavin Newsom, he did whatever he wanted, like every other politician does. So, And it's like everybody's thinking right now, like it's really popular to say, oh, but the problem with capitalism is the problem with crony corporatism. But young people or people that just aren't savvy enough to look at, like, well, what happened with the Soviet Union and what's happening in China, that the road to tyranny is paved with good intentions. And if you want to live like in a tyrannical society, this isn't about how is the debate going. It's not even a debate. It's just me. Like, we have a lot of clean energy laws in California. Like, we are forerunners of clean energy, like in environmental things. But what I'm telling you is sometimes they pass a law, like to ban something like a plastic bag, and the law might apply to some people, but it doesn't apply to everybody equally. Or they say, oh, everybody should stay home, and guess who leaves their house to go socialize during COVID when they could spread COVID? Oh, the governor of the state. I'm just saying, like, this is just being logical. I think the more logically you think, first off, having a plastic flower that you keep in your house for years does not pollute the environment any more than somebody who drives their car all around the world. Or like Casey said, who protests and then goes on a jet to Bali. It's common sense, guys. Like, but if you think like plastic flowers are abhorrent, I mean, I guess I could just keep comments like that and be like, whatever. But the point is, I have every right on my page to do what I want. And of course I can buy what I want. Because I don't like buy things just to be silly. And I know what I like. So, and I wasn't even mad, but you know, people say that you're mad when they want to control you. Like, it's a control mechanism. It really is. Or who knows what it is, but I just find it hilarious. I'm like, really? You're funny. Okay. We need to be a higher temp. It needs to be like 400. $375. Okay. We'll go to 380 because there isn't an in between. So I'm just gonna. Well, you might think that you don't want to, but when you tell somebody that you think like there should be a law passed against doing something, it is kind of a control thing. Like, because you don't personally like something, you want to pass laws that will prevent other people from buying that thing because you erroneously believe that that one particular thing is polluting the environment, when it's not that one particular thing or some people who buy it. It's the mass consumption of things, with people throwing things into the landfill, that's causing the problem, not like people that just buy things that they use. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on that, and maybe I am a little bit more passionate about it than some people would be, you know. Well, my perception's pretty spot on. It's just like, it's pretty spot on. I'm telling you, like, when you tell somebody that things need to be a certain way, you are evoking the sense that you think everybody needs to do things a certain way or have some sort of law passed because they can't control themselves. But maybe it's because I'm very free market economy. I just don't think that those kind of laws make the world a better place. And I have studied history, and I know politicians certainly they're not observing those laws when it comes to themselves. They're going to do whatever's good for them and their families, except for like a few purists like Che Guevara. But Che got exiled and banned because he was a purist, and Fidel was like, ha ha ha, you make us look bad, and how dare you ask the Soviets to give all of the smaller communist countries aid. Like, it doesn't work that way. We want to be lapdogs for Lenin. We don't want you to say anything that might Stalin, not Lenin, Stalin. We don't want to say anything that might upset him or provoke him. Yeah, I studied history, and I think that people that get too far into conservative and too far into liberal camps and they don't look for balance will repeat the errors of history. And it doesn't really matter. Like, you can hate plastic flowers all you want. But I just wanted to talk about this because hating something doesn't really make the world a better place, does it? Anyway, thanks for watching.